They say everyone has a price. That's the first thing you learn in this industry. In Hollywood, the price is usually your dignity. In the music business, it's your masters. But in the world of high-stakes YouTube automation, the world of the algorithm gods, the price is your silence. Mine was exactly $50,000. It came in a nondescript black duffel bag. No bank transfer, no crypto trail, no paperwork. Just stacks of non-sequential hundreds, smelling like old circulate air and fear. That was the payout for deleting a single frame of footage. 1/30th of a second. A glitch, the suits called it, a compression artifact. A technical error caused by low-light sensors overheating in a confined space. That's what they told me. That's what I forced myself to believe so I could sleep at night. But I know what I saw. You've all seen the video. It's one of the most famous uploads on the internet. I spent 7 days buried alive. A masterpiece of retention editing. High-stakes emotional arcs. The triumph of the human spirit. Millions of you clicked. Millions of you watched Jimmy, MrBeast, overcome claustrophobia and isolation to emerge victorious from the earth. You cheered when he was pulled out. You commented on how brave he was. But you didn't see what happened at the 12-minute, 14-second mark of the raw footage. You didn't see the shadow that moved against the light source. You didn't hear the audio that I spent 3 sleepless nights trying to scrub from the master file. I was the lead editor for that project. I was the gatekeeper. The first person to ingest the footage from the drives that came directly from that cursed field. And I am telling you, with absolute certainty, Jimmy entered that coffin alone, but he didn't stay alone. There is a reason the comments section on that video feels curated. There is a reason the crew looked terrified in the wide shots, if you pause at the right moments. And there is a reason why, if you look at Jimmy's eyes in his videos post-2022, the light behind them seems artificial, like a bulb that's been replaced with something that burns a little too bright, a little too cold. I took the money. I deleted the frame. I signed the NDA that threatened to bury me deeper than Jimmy ever was. But I kept a backup, a safety copy, stored on an encrypted drive that I keep in a Faraday bag. Why am I telling you this now? Because I'm sick, not physically, but spiritually. The money is gone, spent on rent, therapy, and security systems that don't work against the things I see in my peripheral vision. I can't carry this anymore. I need you to know the truth about the beast. I need you to understand that when you dig a hole that deep, you aren't just digging into the dirt. You're knocking on a door. And sometimes, something answers. To understand the horror, you have to understand the environment. You have to understand Greenville. For a video editor, getting a job at MrBeast's production company is like getting drafted into the NBA. It's the summit, the Everest. You spend your career cutting Twitch VODs and low-budget vlogs, dreaming of the day you get that email. When I got mine, I literally screamed. My mom cried. "You made it," she said. "You're going to be set for life." The campus is impressive, terrifyingly so. It's not just a studio, it's a city-state, massive hangars, fleets of luxury cars, warehouses filled with props, ranging from jet engines to mountains of Feastables chocolate. Everyone there runs on a mixture of caffeine, ambition, and a terrifying level of toxic positivity. You don't complain at MrBeast. You execute, you grind, you make the best video possible, or you get replaced by one of the 10,000 kids waiting in line for your badge. I was hired as a senior editor, specializing in narrative flow and audio engineering. My workspace was in Building C, also known among the veterans as the bunker. Unlike the main offices, which are bright, colorful, and filled with beanbags and neon signs, the bunker is sterile, gray walls, industrial carpet, no windows. The air is always set to exactly 68 degrees. It's designed for focus, for isolation. The security protocol was tighter than the Pentagon. Phones were confiscated at the door and placed in RF shielding pouches. No smartwatches, no personal drives. We worked on air-gapped terminals, computers not connected to the outside internet, to prevent leaks. The first time I met Chris, the head of production, I got a weird vibe. He wasn't mean, but he was hollow. He looked like a man who hadn't slept a full night in 5 years. He shook my hand, and his grip was cold. "Welcome to the team," he said. "The rules are simple. 1. The algorithm is God. 2. Jimmy is the prophet. 3. What happens in the footage stays in the footage. We craft reality here. We don't just document it." At the time, I thought it was just corporate speak. We craft reality. Cool slogan. I didn't realize how literal he was being. For the first 6 months, it was a dream. I worked on some hide-and-seek videos, a couple of last-to-leave challenges. The hours were brutal. 16-hour days were standard, but the camaraderie was high. We felt like we were changing the media landscape. We were the best in the world. Then came the briefing for 7 days buried alive. The atmosphere in the studio shifted. Normally, a new project brings excitement, high fives, hype. This time, it brought silence. The production assistants were whispering in the break room. I overheard a location scout talking about the soil composition and local legends near the burial site. "It's not consecrated ground," the scout was saying, looking pale. "The locals call it the Weeping Field. They didn't want us to dig there," Jimmy insisted. He said the energy was right for the thumbnail. Energy. That's a word you hear a lot in LA, but in North Carolina, coming from a multi-millionaire YouTuber, it sounded ominous. The shoot lasted a week. I wasn't on set. I was in the bunker, prepping the ingest servers. But I could feel the tension radiating from the Slack channels. Updates were sparse. "Jimmy is struggling. Medical team on standby. Audio interference is getting worse." When the shoot wrapped, there was no wrap party, no champagne. The crew returned to the studio, looking like they had just come back from a war zone. Dirty, shell-shocked, quiet. That evening, Chris walked into my edit bay. He locked the door behind him. I had never seen him lock the door before. He placed a heavy, ruggedized SSD on my desk. It had a piece of red gaffer tape on it, with a single word written in Sharpie raw. "You're the lead on this," Chris said. His voice was barely a whisper. "I need you to process the night cycles. Specifically nights 3 through 6. There's noise, technical noise. I need you to clean it up, make it sound crisp, make it sound safe." "Safe?" I asked. "What do you mean safe?" He looked me dead in the eye. "Just make sure the audience only hears Jimmy, nothing else. Do you understand? Nothing else." He left before I could ask what else could possibly be in a sealed coffin, buried 10 feet underground. I ingested the footage. 4 terabytes of 8K red camera raw files. The clarity was disturbing. You could see every pore on Jimmy's face, every bead of sweat, every speck of dust floating in the confined air of the coffin. The setup was simple, but high-tech. The coffin was equipped with cameras, lights, oxygen sensors, and a high-fidelity microphone array. Day 1 and Day 2 were standard content. Jimmy making jokes, explaining the poop bucket situation, playing with his fidget toys, radioing the guys above ground to banter. It was classic MrBeast. High energy, performative suffering. But as I scrubbed to Day 3, the waveform on the audio track began to change. Visually, an audio track usually looks like a series of peaks and valleys corresponding to speech. But underneath Jimmy's voice, a thick, solid block of noise appeared. It wasn't static. Static is random. This was structured, rhythmic. I put on my studio monitors, $5,000 headphones designed to hear a pin drop in a hurricane, and isolated the track. It was a hum, a deep, oscillating thrumming sound. I ran it through a spectrum analyzer plugin. The reading chilled my blood, 18.9 Hz. In psychoacoustics, this is known as the ghost frequency. It's an infrasound frequency, just below the threshold of human hearing. It resonates with the human eyeball, causing visual hallucinations. It vibrates the inner ear, causing intense feelings of dread, sorrow, and the sensation of being watched. Usually, this is caused by faulty HVAC systems or industrial fans. But Jimmy was in a wooden box, buried under 3 tons of dirt, in the middle of a forest. There were no fans. There was no machinery. The sound was coming from the earth itself. Or something in the earth. I tried to EQ it out. I used a high-pass filter to cut everything below 40 Hz. But the moment I applied the filter, the audio glitched. A sharp digital scream tore through my headphones. I ripped them off, throwing them onto the desk. My ears were ringing. I looked at the timeline. The waveform had changed. It wasn't a hum anymore. It looked like spikes. Sharp, aggressive spikes. I cautiously put the headphones back on and played the clip at 50% speed. What I heard defied logic. It wasn't digital interference. It sounded like wet leather stretching, like heavy, muddy movements sliding against the outside of the coffin wood. Slither, thump, slither, thump, and then Jimmy reacted. On the video feed, Jimmy stopped talking mid-sentence. He froze, his eyes, usually darting around performing for the camera, locked onto the bottom left corner of the coffin, the foot end. He didn't look scared. He looked confused. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. But he wasn't talking to the radio. He wasn't pressing the talk button. He was talking to the air in the box. "Do you hear that?" he asked again. I scrubbed back. There was no sound on the track other than the 18 Hz hum. Then Jimmy nodded, a slow, deliberate nod. "Okay," he whispered. "I understand. The price is high though." My stomach dropped. I paused the video. I zoomed in on his face. He wasn't hallucinating from carbon dioxide buildup. The CO2 sensors in the metadata showed normal levels. He was lucid. He was having a conversation. I noted the time code, day 3, 04:12 a.m. I kept working, but the temperature in the edit bay seemed to drop. I felt exposed. The lack of windows, which usually helped me focus, now felt like a prison. I felt like I was in the box with him. I moved to day 4. The physical deterioration in Jimmy was rapid. He looked gaunt, pale, but his energy was manic. He would go from crying to laughing in seconds, and the whispering continued. I started logging the whispers. I created a separate sequence just for the unknown audio. I boosted the gain by 20 decibels and applied a noise reduction profile. What emerged from the static wasn't English. It wasn't any language I recognized. It was a series of guttural clicks and low-pitched groans. It sounded ancient. It sounded hungry. And every time that sound appeared on the track, the video bitrate would drop. The image would pixelate. The camera, a $50,000 Red Raptor, was failing to process the visual information. It was as if the entity making the sound was radioactive to digital sensors. I should have called Chris right then. I should have flagged the drive as corrupted and walked away. But curiosity is a disease. I needed to see the end. I needed to see day 6, the final night before the extraction. By this point in the timeline, the content was unusable. Jimmy wasn't making videos anymore. He was sitting cross-legged in the center of the coffin, staring directly into the lens. He hadn't blinked in minutes. The 18 Hz hum was deafening now. It was clipping the audio meters, pushing them into the red. Then, at 03 a.m. exactly, the power in the coffin failed. The main LED panels died. The screen went pitch black. The metadata showed that the batteries were fully charged, yet the lights simply cut out. For 3 minutes, there was total darkness. Only the audio remained. And the audio, oh God, it sounded like digging. Not from the top down, from the bottom up. Scratch, scratch, snap. It sounded like wood splintering, like something was forcing its way through the floorboards of the coffin. I held my breath. My finger hovered over the spacebar. At 03:03 a.m., the emergency backup system kicked in. The infrared IR illuminators fired up. The image returned in that ghostly grayscale night vision mode. And that's when I saw the frame. It happened so fast that if you blinked, you'd miss it. But as an editor, I see life in frames. I see the micro moments. I was scrubbing through the footage to find the exact moment the lights came back on to create a transition. I used the arrow keys. Frame forward, frame forward, frame forward. Time code 06:03:12. I stopped. I gasped, pushing my chair back so hard it hit the wall behind me. In the coffin, Jimmy was lying on his back, seemingly unconscious, but he wasn't alone. Rising from the floor of the coffin, through the dirt, through the wood, through the supposed safety of the box was a hand. But it wasn't a hand. It was a mockery of a hand. It had 6 fingers. They were impossibly long, multi-jointed, like the legs of a spider. The skin was dark, textured like burnt bark or necrotic flesh. It was wrapped around Jimmy's throat, not choking him, caressing him, and the face, or what should have been a face, was just a blur of motion in the corner of the frame, a shadow that was darker than black, a void that absorbed the infrared light. But the most terrifying part, Jimmy's eyes were open. He wasn't struggling. He wasn't screaming. He was looking directly at the hand on his throat, with an expression of pure, ecstatic submission. I stared at that frozen image for 10 minutes. My brain tried to rationalize it. It's a prop. It's a prank. Maybe a crew member dug a tunnel to scare him. But the physics didn't work. The angle of the arm coming through the floorboards. It would require a human arm to be broken in 3 places. And the texture. I zoomed in to 4. There were symbols etched into the skin of the hand. Tiny, glowing symbols that didn't render correctly on the monitor. They looked like static, like glitches in the Matrix. I reached for my phone. I needed to document this. I needed proof that I wasn't losing my mind. As I unlocked my phone, a notification popped up on my computer screen. It wasn't a system error. It was a message from the internal chat system. Sender system admin. Message. Stop. I froze. I hadn't typed anything. I hadn't triggered any alarms. Message. Do not capture. Look away. The text cursor blinked. It felt like it was syncing with my heartbeat. Then the door to the edit bay opened. It didn't slam. It didn't burst. It just clicked and swung open slowly. Chris stood there, but he wasn't alone. Behind him were 2 men I had never seen on campus. They wore ill-fitting gray suits. They didn't look like security. They looked like bureaucrats from a nightmare. They had no badges, no emotion. Chris looked pale, sweaty. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Pause the render, Alex, Chris said. His voice cracked. What is that, Chris? I pointed at the screen, my hands shaking. What is inside the box with him? The man in the gray suit stepped forward. He moved with a strange fluidity, too smooth. He glanced at the monitor, then at me. A compression artifact, the man said. His voice was monotone, synthetic. A glitch in the red code raw codec, very common in high-stress, low-light environments. That is a hand, sir. That is a 6-fingered hand holding our boss by the throat. The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. It is a glitch, and glitches get deleted. He placed a black gym bag on my desk. The zipper was already open. I could see the bundles of cash. 50,000, the man said. Tax-free. Consider it a bonus for your discretion and for your overtime. And if I don't delete it? Chris finally looked at me. There was genuine fear in his eyes. Alex, please, don't be a hero. You don't know what the algorithm actually is. You don't know what feeds it. Feeds it. The phrase hung in the air. Delete the frame, the gray suit said. Scrub the cache. Re-export the timeline with a cross-dissolve over the power outage. Make it seamless. Make it entertainment. He leaned in close. I could smell him. He didn't smell like cologne or sweat. He smelled like ozone, like burning electrical wires. Do this, and you leave here rich. Refuse, and you stay in the box. I looked at the screen, at the hand, at Jimmy's dead eyes. I looked at the bag. I looked at the door. I'm not a hero. I'm an editor. I fix problems. I cut out the bad parts. Okay, I whispered. I sat down. I pressed the razor tool shortcut key, C. I isolated the frame. I pressed delete. Then I pressed ripple delete to close the gap. The hand was gone. The transition was smooth. The video flowed perfectly from darkness to light, erasing the monstrosity in between. The suit nodded. Good work. The file is now safe? They took the original drive. They watched me wipe the local cache. Then they left. I quit the next morning. I sent an email saying I had a family emergency. I didn't wait for a reply. I took the bag, got in my car, and drove until I hit the state line. 2 weeks later, the video dropped. I spent 7 days buried alive. It broke records. It was trending 21 worldwide. Everyone talked about how emotional it was, how Jimmy cried when he was dug up. I watched the extraction scene. I watched it frame by frame on my laptop in a motel room. When the crane lifts the lid, look at Jimmy's face. He's crying, yes. But look at his hands. He's making a sign, a subtle gesture with his fingers. And look at his eyes. Before he switches on the YouTuber personality, before he smiles for the camera, there is a split second where he scans the horizon. He looks hungry. The Jimmy that went into that hole was a 20-something kid with a good heart and a crazy dream. The thing that came out is an industry titan, a billionaire, a force of nature. But he's not the same. I've noticed things since then. Subtle things in his videos. The way he doesn't blink enough. The way the people around him, Chandler, Carl, Nolan, look genuinely terrified sometimes when he touches them. The way his empire grows at a rate that is mathematically impossible. You think the algorithm is just code? You think it's just math? Chris told me, you don't know what feeds it. I think I do now. I think Jimmy made a deal in that box. I think he offered something to the entity in the earth. He gave up his fear. He gave up his humanity. And in exchange, he got the world. I live quiet now. I don't work in video anymore. I work in construction. Cash jobs. No computers. But I still have the thumb drive. See, when the suit was watching me wipe the cash, he blinked. And in that split second, I dragged a copy of the raw frame onto a hidden partition on my keychain drive. I have the image, the hand, the symbols. Sometimes I think about releasing it, uploading it to Reddit or 4chan via a Tor browser. But then the things start happening. My phone will ring at 3 a.m. When I answer, it's just that sound. 18 hertz. The low, wet thrumming of the earth. My smart TV will turn on by itself, playing MrBeast videos on a loop. But the audio is pitched down, sounding like demonic groans. They know I have it. They are waiting for me to make a move. So this is my warning to you. Enjoy the videos, buy the chocolate, laugh at the challenges. But don't look too closely at the freeze frames. Don't slow down the audio. And for the love of God, never wear noise-canceling headphones when watching a MrBeast video alone in the dark. Because the glitch wasn't deleted. It was just hidden. And the beast is still hungry.